Okay, our next storyteller is Jamie Brickhouse.
Yeah.
Hey there. I'm just going to hold it. I hate adjusting mic stands. At the turn of this century, before there was iPhones, when people still used landlines, and before there were pickup apps like Grindr and Tinder, for those of you in the audience who might be straight, I had to do my sexual pickup research on the ground. I had to go out there and find it. And in those days, one of my favorite places for quick and easy or cheap and sleazy sex was Les Hommes Bookshop. Now, Les Hommes is not a Barnes & Noble kind of place. It's a gay porno store with buddy booths in the back. Buddy booth is a quaint term for anonymous sex chamber. And by the way, Les Hommes means the men in French. Classy. Now, I usually hit Les Hommes at about 3 or 4 in the morning after bumper carring around all the gay bars like a drunken version of that Uncle Sam poster. I want you! And you! And you! But nobody wanted me! But on this particular night that this story takes place, it wasn't 3 or 4 in the morning. It was 6:30 at night on a weeknight, and I was on my way home from work after I'd had just a few too many drinks, and my boyfriend was at home making dinner, but I thought I would stop into Les Hommes just to see what was going on. So I go in there and I pay my $10 to the Pakistani man behind the bulletproof cashier's window. And he presses a button I can't see underneath the counter that releases the creaky turnstile to allow access to the buddy booth section in the back. And there's this sign next to the entrance to the buddy booth section that says, no refunds, no re-entry, and not responsible. The for lost and stolen goods part had fallen off, but not responsible just about sums it up in a place like this. So I go through and there's the buddy booth section, which consists of a long, grimy hallway, and the booths are made of plywood, about 3 feet square, and they each have a little video screen flickering blue movies. But what I love about a sleazy place like this is the thrill of the unknown. I mean, you just never know who's lurking behind those doors. It's like a gay porno version of Let's Make a Deal. So I immediately start patrolling the buddy booth hallway like a jailhouse warden on final bed check. A crypt keeper in booth number 1, keep moving. Several well-oiled porn stars in booths 2 and 3, on the screens, that is. A John Goodman type in booth number 4 putting on a solo show. I don't think so. Booth number 5. It's a bit of an oasis. The guy is tall and slim and blonde, and he's ready for action. He motions me in, and I immediately accept his invitation. As soon as I shut the door, his twitchy, jittery, nervous hands are fluttering up and down my body like hummingbirds that will never land. And then he just starts devouring my face. The guy's ravenous. And after a few seconds of this, he pulls back, and he says, hey girl, hey, do you smoke? And I pull out my Marlboro Lights, and I say, yeah, but can we smoke in here? He says, no girl, this. And he holds up a glass pipe with a little white rock in it. Oh. And I wanted to pull a Whitney Houston and say, crack is whack, Oprah. But after I'd had all those drinks in me, I was powerless to say no. So I just said, okay. So he holds the pipe up to my mouth, and I'd never done this before. And then he flicks the lighter, and the flame whoosh, shoots up around the pipe, and it almost grazes my nose. It was kind of scary. And then I inhaled. And then I understood what all the fuss was about. Crack is whack. And I mean, the need to copulate was immediate and feral. I mean, we went at each other, and then we alternated between going at each other and taking drags off the pipe, and going at each other and taking more drags off the pipe. And if I thought Coke was a lot of work, crack is ridiculous. It was like Lucy and Ethel trying to keep up with the chocolates on the conveyor. It was exhausting. So after a while of this, he pulls back again and says, hey girl, why don't we go to my place? I just live around the corner. You want to go to my place? Let's go to my place. And I wanted to say, no, I really should go home and have dinner with my boyfriend. And then my Texan mother, Mama Jean's voice hops into my head. And I hear her say, never move the party. You never regain the momentum. But I don't listen to her, and I don't listen to myself, and I just say, sure. And when we exit the booth, in the harsh glare of the fluorescent lights in the hallway, I can see that he's not thin, he's gaunt. And his clothes are a little frayed and grimy. And even though he's wide awake, he looks exhausted. So we go around the corner to his place, and before he opens the door, he says, before we go in, I should tell you that the place is a bit of a mess. I mean, I haven't had time to clean it up lately, so just so you know, I'm like, yeah, okay, I've heard this before, and I'm not here to have a white glove test. I'm here to have sex and smoke crack. So he opens up the door. Well, he undersold it. I mean, not only was it a bit of a mess, it looked like it could have been the satellite location for the city dump. I mean, there were piles of rotting Chinese food takeout containers, and piles of unopened mail, and piles of newspapers, and piles of piles. And so then he pushes off a pile of dirty laundry from his bed, and we tear off our clothes, and we get on the bed to do what we had come there to do, which was have sex and smoke crack. But all we really do is smoke crack, because even though when you're smoking crack you want to have sex, all you end up doing is smoking more crack. So we're doing this for a while, and then the phone rings. And I look over at the phone, and there's the answering machine next to it. And there's that red light that indicates you have messages. And it's blinking frantically, and I'm thinking that is a pile-up of a lot of unheard messages in there. And as the phone's ringing and I'm looking at this filthy apartment, I'm thinking, this guy has a problem. But I'm not copping to the fact that maybe I have a problem since I'm smoking crack with a stranger at 6:30 on a school night. So he lets the phone ring, and then the machine picks up. And his message should have said, I'm smoking crack, so I may not get back to you for another 3 months. And then we hear the caller. Hey girl, why haven't you called me? I've been calling you for 3 weeks and you don't return my calls. And now your mother is calling me. What am I supposed to say to her? Where have you been? Where have you been? And then Crackie, not his real name, starts screaming at the phone. Shut up, shut up, shut the fuck up! And then he looks down at the pipe, and it's empty. And he says, oh my God, we're out. I need more. I want to get some more. Do you want some more? I want to get some more. Do you want to get some more? I don't even answer. And before I know it, he has put his clothes back on, and he's halfway out the door, and he says, just stay right here, and I'll be back in a minute. And he leaves. And even though Crackie has just met me, he feels like he can trust me to guard his filth. So after he leaves, I'm just mesmerized by that blinking red light. Like Cindy Brady at the quiz show. And then I hear Mama Jean's voice in my head again. And this time I hear her saying, "Where have you been, Lord Randall, my son?" And I throw on my clothes and I get the hell out of there. Now, when I was a little boy, that's what she used to say to me if I had been out of her orbit for a while and then suddenly reappeared. And she would always look down and say, "Where have you been, Lord Randall, my son?" And I never asked her why she called me that, since my name is Jamie. But I found out years later it comes from an ancient Scottish ballad. And it goes something like this. "Where have you been, Lord Randall, my son? Oh, where have you been, my handsome young man? I've been at the greenwood, mother. Make my bed soon. For I must lie down, I'm weary from hunting. Oh, I fear you've been poisoned, Lord Randall, my son. I fear you've been poisoned, my handsome young man." And I heard that poem in my head, and I had been poisoned. Now, I would love to tell you that after that night, I realized I had a serious problem with alcohol and drugs, and I hit my figurative and literal rock bottom. But that took a few more years, a lot more booze, and a few more crack pipes. But the true takeaway from that story, never move the party. And when you're trying to have sex and smoke crack with a stranger, don't bring your mother into the party. It's a serious buzzkill. Thank you.